So first I want to show you my final result. So this is where I landed after about an hour of time between writing content, experimenting with Claude as my tool first, and then jumping over to Figma Make, and I'm definitely iterating along the way to get to this. But it's not bad. So it's honestly better than I probably would have put together in like a print PDF in Canva manually, the way I would have done something a year or two ago, right? I have an overview section, some links out, AI tools that includes little product logos. We have a link out to our free prompt library that we built previously, some notes on product discovery AI use cases, and a shout out for the upcoming online course that I'll be launching. So you can fill out the course interest survey there. But let me show you what my process looked like. So the first thing that I did to create that cheat sheet was write the content for it. So in this case, I had a bunch of existing materials from course content and other things that we've done as a team. So we want to make sure that this was the Scenic West voice. So in this case, I didn't use any AI to write this, but it was very quick to do. It wasn't really like a starting from a blank canvas. I was just pulling from a few slides that I really liked and thought would make a good free download kind of resource to help me share something as a follow-up from the workshop that we ran at the conference the other week, and then also to promote our upcoming online course. So the first thing that I did was I actually tried Canva, and in general, I've always kind of like wanted that to do a good job of creating, honestly, print or like just PDF resources that I'm going to share or use as like a quick attachment to an email or a LinkedIn message. But that like honestly consistently has proven like it's not quite where I need it to be productive. So then I said, okay, well, I'm kind of curious, like what would a general LLM tool be able to do for me? So I jumped into Claude and tried this. And at this point, I was still in the mindset of that I just really wanted the PDF download. But one of the things I'm kind of getting through the learning curve of is to think more in code first solutions and something that maybe has a PDF download. So like, honestly, that's great. That's even better. So you'll see my initial prompt, which is like very brief and like kind of half baked, is asking for something different than what I got to, but then it made me realize, oh, okay, let me actually think about this differently, and that shifted me to jump over to Figma Make, which I had used recently for a similar need. So let me hit play on this little recording, but you'll see I had a prompt that asked for a modern one-pager. I'm referencing the document that's what I already had written. And then I was kind of just playing around with like, can it reference my brand found on the website, or like, what does that do? And I'm still kind of figuring out like the right process for this type of work, because we spend a lot more time working on like product strategy, UX UI design. So like creating these like more marketing materials is a little different of a mindset. I'm kind of still going through a learning curve here. But here you'll see if I click into the interactive artifact, it just looks like plain styling. So it definitely didn't pull anything in from a website or like the the startup blue palette of the past, time. That's not our brand color. So, I mean, that's all fine. It doesn't look bad, right? Like that's this kind of a straightforward result, but it kind of made me realize like, oh, okay, I actually want something different. And I could have written a much better prompt to get a better result, but I would say, pause this. So you'll see me, we'll kind of skip over this part, but you'll see that like I went through, I was going to try to iterate on this, add some logos, things like that. And then decided that actually this starting point was far enough off that I wanted to maybe try a different tool before I got committed to one. So at this point, I either would have gone and written a much better prompt or switched tools. So in this case, I did switch tools to Figma Make. So I'll show you that next. Okay, so now I've switched over to Figma Make and I'll walk you through what happened. So I'm using the same prompt as a starting point. In this case, I just have the text from the document pasted in. So there's a couple things I had in like screenshots in that doc that you'll see like I later had to go like spell out the content for, and that's fine. But I was honestly pretty impressed. So this is a very like non-prompt like sort of starting point. I'm not even asking for something interactive. And some of that's like I think fine. I think now that I have a better understanding of what I can do with Figma Make, I'll get much more advanced with the prompting. So some of the iteration will be cut down, but most of my time in this wasn't really spent rethinking the layout because I thought it was pretty good without me giving any instructions. It was more about adding some visual assets to it, and that sort of like I had to step through, give it some design like layout or like padding, like feedback, things like that. And like overall I was really happy with the result. So like this is without me saying anything about the layout, it just kind of picked it up. but I really liked it. And then you'll see here, like, so this section, I add like a little screenshot of what to expect for the prompt library. So that's another free resource that we have. So we linked out to it. But you'll see here, I drop this in, I give it some context for like the layout, like take up a third of the space, that kind of thing. So we'll let that run. So as you go through, and this is kind of the same for any like AI prototyping tool at this point, but you kind of watch it go through the code updates. And there is some element of like some of this, it's like, oh man, like I probably could just like do it myself faster in code. But, so there's like a little bit of adjusting to that idea of like your job is to write good prompts and to give feedback. And like you're kind of waiting while the code is happening. So you might be multitasking even. In this case, I'm probably giving it one edit and already planning my next one. So like that like runtime doesn't really like slow me down in that respect. Because in this case, I'm doing it piecemeal. The other way you could do it is like organize all your feedback, write one cohesive prompt, get it in one take. And I think that's probably end user preference. There's probably some like argument for which is more efficient, things like that. But for me, I'm creating like a free resource and like the stakes aren't that high, so it's a little bit different than how I'd approach my more like typical uses of AI that's more grounded in our product strategy and UX UI design work. This is more like a marketing asset and something that I'm just trying to put together quickly. So you'll see here, the next thing I did is, so I had the AI tools section, and I think in the document that I originally drafted, I just had like a screenshot of a slide. So I ended up going in and calling out like, I liked this like 3-column layout that it had for the other section. So I said, okay, let's do that for this, and I call that out specifically. And then I ultimately had to end up going through, let me jump forward. So it gives me this, which is good. I ended up going through and finding all the logos for it. And there's a little back and forth that I had to do to get those all like sized correctly, laid out correctly, or like get the right logo to match to the right product name. And then I think I like tweaked like the column headings, things like that. So that was the bulk of the time I spent to get to this. It was really the visual assets. And so you'll see here, I like added some of the logos because I just wanted to see if it would work well. And I figured doing it one section at a time would be more likely that I'd get it right. It still had some things where it flipped. So like here I put the Claude logo before, or they're not in order when I attach them. And it seemed to like get stuck on that specifically. So I got like better, even though these had the right names that would have matched. I was kind of just seeing like, okay, what does it pick up? So being more specific, putting something in order, all of that would have saved me time. So like next time it'll be faster. Let's see. So in here, I checked the PDF download. There's a couple things that the layouts need to be cleaned up there. I think I go through and like check it on like a mobile breakpoint, ask for a couple responsive things specifically for the heading or header section at the top. How the content stacks or wraps was a little off by default, but it was overall responsive without me like even including that in the prompt, which was awesome. So I was really happy with that as well. Let me skip ahead a little bit. See. So yeah, at this point, I'm really just fine tuning things like the logos and stuff, and they all kind of come together over time. So I'll go ahead and pause this and circle back to the final result. So jumping back to my final result, as you see here, in really less than an hour time, I was able to take some content that I already had, create a free resource, and also get it published and hosted on my on a custom subdomain. If you want to check this out, go to discovery.scenicwest.co. So that's .co, not .com. And would love your feedback on this. I'm Erin Stewart, the founder of Scenic West Design. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this one, be sure to hit subscribe, and also would love for you to fill out my course interest survey for the upcoming Maven course we have on AI for product discovery. Thanks.